Hello everyone, welcome back to Explore Electronics. Today let's discuss the solution for Model Question Paper 2. So before entering to the question and answers, let's see some of the important points that you can keep in mind before you answer in exam. Learn important C programs which are repeatedly asked in previous exams. Here you can see factorial, bubble sort, area of circle, function using recursion. So this is very important that you learn all of this so that you can answer many questions out of this. Suppose they are asking you to write a program to explain the recursion. You can take a same example of the factorial. So you can find the factorial using recursions. The same program you can use to answer for both of these questions. Use the same program snippet as example to explain other questions. For example, if they ask you to explain the for loop or if else condition or do while loop. So take an example out of this which you have learned and try to explain with the same example. So no need to write another new program example. If you know one program which includes all these concepts, you can just learn that and use the same program to explain the other questions, okay? So in this way, it will add more weightage to your answers. So let's begin with the first question. Here they're asking to find what is computer and then broadly classify the computers based on their speed, storage and price. So if you remember in the previous paper, we had a question on the different generations of computer. This is also a similar question but not on specific generations but on specific type of computers. So you can differentiate based on speed, storage and price. So first of all you need to define what is computer and then come to the different computers that we have and write few points for each of them. For supercomputers, mainframe computers, and we have mini computers or mid-range computers and microcomputers, smartphones and embedded computers. So in all of this you need to mention the 3 points that they are asking here, the speed, storage and price. Make sure these points are definitely there in the explanation that you're giving for each of these computers. And the next question is to classify the following into application or system software. So they've given 4 things, that is C compiler, word processor, web browser and operating system. So out of this we all know that operating system is a system software and all these three are application software. So you can first classify them like this, say what are this, and you can say these 3 are application softwares and this is system software, and then they have asked to justify it. So when they are asking for justifying, you just can't classify them but you have to give the difference between them and justify your classification. So you can give system software and application software difference table like this and then explain. So this will fetch you 8 marks. Now here another easy question that you have, to explain any 3 input and any 3 output devices. So this is very simple. You can take any 3 input and output devices of your choice and just explain them with few brief points. So here you can see we have keyboard, pointing devices and scanners are input. And similarly for output devices as well, we have monitor, printer, projector. You can take any 3 of your choice and just explain them. So this will get you 5 marks. Here next we have list the basic data types available in C and explain with example. So this is also an easy question. So we all know that the basic data types that we have in C are int, float, double and char. Just list down these 4 basic data types. And first of all, you can say what is basic data type and just explain 2 or 3 lines on them and give some examples like this. And then come to each of these data types and explain them, what are these data types, and give an example like this. So they've already asked to give an example. So make sure for each of this data type you will be giving an example. So that will fetch you 8 marks. Now here one more question, what is typecasting? Mention its use with a suitable example. Typecasting is nothing but converting a variable of one type into another type. Say for example, if we have here x is 4.0. Now in your operation, suppose say you need to make this x as an integer. So how to do that is just inside the parenthesis, you are just writing the type to which you are wishing to convert. For example, if you want to convert this into integer, you will be writing int here. Suppose you want to convert this into another thing, then you have to write that type inside this and write this variable name here. It will automatically convert that into this type. So this is what is meant by typecasting. So with a small example you can just explain that. See here they are saying float to int. So that means this is a function which is converting float to integer. So it will be accepting a variable of float type, and here we are writing int b is equal to int a. That means this float value we are converting into integer and assigning it to b and returning that. So what it does, suppose say a is 2.75, it will be converting this float value into integer. So the output will be only 2 after conversion. So this is how you can give an example and explain this. Now here is an interesting question. This is also a simple, but they are asking it in a different way. So we all know that how to swap integers, right? But here they are asking to swap without using temporary variable. So this is important. So make sure you read the question properly. They are asking to write without using temporary variable. You will have two variables which is having two values assigned to them, and then you can print those values before swapping. And now how to swap them without having any temporary variable? First you need to add these two values and put it into a. Now a will be having 10 plus 20, that is 30. You need to get b as 10, right? That means you are getting b should be 10 after swapping and a should be 20 after swapping. So what will be b now? We all know that a is 30 now. Now 30 minus 20 will be b, correct? So what we have to do is a minus b. That is 30 minus 20 we'll get 10. Now b is having a's value. That means we have swapped a to b. Now we need to swap b to a. A is 30, we already know that. 30 minus b. That means we have to minus 10 to get 20. So what we are doing, a minus b. So it's very simple. You just have to say a is equal to a plus b, then b is a minus b, and again a is a minus b. Then you will be getting the swapped values. Then print them. So this is a very simple program. Make sure to read the question properly. Now the next question is to explain the syntax and working of switch case statement. And they've also asked to mention in which situation it is desirable. So first you can explain what is a switch case statement, where we use it, and a general syntax like this. And also you can give a flow chart on, like, it will be easy for you to explain the flow of the program. So whenever we are having a switch case, how the program will be executed, that you can explain using this flow chart. So this is also important, and then you can also explain with a small example. So since they have asked to mention in which situation it is desirable, that means you need to take a small example of switch case statement and explain it why switch case will be suitable at that condition. So that will fetch you 7 marks. Now they've asked to write the output of the following code. So here you need to observe we have pre-increment and post-increment. Here m value will be printed, but before m value is printed it is incremented. So that's why we are having 3 here. But here it is not incremented, but just the m value as it is printed, and later it is going to get incremented. So this is the concept of this program. So just analyze it and then write the output. Now compare the working of for, while and do while along with their syntax. Each of this you can just take it, explain, write the syntax, and also you can write the flowchart like this. So while, do while, and then for. So each of them you need to write why it is used, where we can use, and what is the flow of the program when we are using these conditions. Then you can write the syntax of this, then flowchart. So this will be very easy to answer. Now here is one more important question. Write a C program to compute the roots of a quadratic equation by accepting the coefficients and print the appropriate message along with the values. So this is important. This line says that we need to print the appropriate message along with the values. So when you're writing the answer, apart from writing the program, you should also write the expected output like this. Say suppose we are using the printf statement here. What it will be printing, that also we need to write it like this. Detailed explanation on this program, I'll be putting it as a separate video, but for now just understand that you need to write the program and also write the expected output out of it. Explain the working of goto statement in C program. So first you need to say what is a goto statement. As we all know, it is an unconditional branching statement, and then write like how do we write the goto statement, what are the steps that we need to follow. Suppose say goto, and you need to give a name for that. Say label, you can also give label, it is a valid variable name they are saying. So go to this label and statement 1, 2, and then here you need to write what is there in label. Say for example, so here we have two things like forward jump and backward jump. This also you can explain. Here we say go to label. That means the label will be after this go to block. Suppose we get go to label here. Then what happens, the next few statements will be skipped and it will directly go to this label and execute this. Similarly, the backward jump is nothing but we will get the label somewhere before this go to statement. So what it will do, it will go back to the label and execute it. So this is two things. So give the syntax and working of simple if-else condition. So this is also easy. First we can give the syntax of how to write if-else block, and then write the flow chart also, like how the flow will go if the expression is true or false. And then you can give a small programming example to explain this. So make sure you write a programming example because this is for 6 marks. So just writing syntax, explaining the flow chart is not enough. You can also write a small program for this. Now we have next question, how one-dimensional integer array is represented in memory. So with the help of a suitable example, demonstrate the initializing array elements. So for this, first you need to mention what is one-dimensional array. Then you can say how in the memory it is represented. So we all know that one-dimensional array will be allocated with a contiguous block of memory. And you need to discuss on the initialization of one-dimensional array. So we all know that we have two types of initialization, compile time and runtime. So each of these you can explain briefly and give an example. So that will fetch you 6 marks. Now this is also one of the important questions. Write a C program to transpose M cross N matrix. So this is the program to transpose M cross N matrix. So you can just go through this program. Detailed video on this I will be uploading it shortly. So this question is for 6 marks. Now this is also important. This binary search, bubble sort, this sorting and searching algorithms are very important. So here we have binary search technique. Here they are not asking for a program, but they are asking for the working of it, like how the binary search works. So you need to explain it, but you need to say what is a binary search, and then you need to write the working of it and how the search begins. The search begins with the middle element. So if we have an array of elements, it will start with the middle element. So first it will compare with one element in the middle, then it sees if it is less than or greater than. If it is less than, it will be comparing only with the lesser elements. If it is greater, it will be comparing only with the greater elements. So this is how the binary search technique works. So we can take a small example like this, array of 10 digits, and you can give your own array. So suppose they ask to find 59 in this array. So what it does, first it will be comparing with the middle element. So you have an array of 10 digits and the element 59 needs to be found. Okay, all the elements are marked with the index from 0 to 9. Now the middle element is calculated. So to calculate the middle element, which is the middle element in this array, we need to calculate that. That means we need to divide the rightmost value, index value, by 2. That means say we have 9 divided by 2. We will get the result as 4.5. But we cannot take 4.5 because it's a floating point. We just have to take 4 for that matter. So here it will start with the 4th element and it will be comparing with 24. So 0, 1, 2, 3 and 4. So it will compare with 24 and it will see if it is greater than 24 or less than 24. So it will do like this and then compare with each of them and finally arrives at the solution. Says that 59 is found. Now one more important question. Write a C program to implement selection sort techniques in ascending order. And they have asked to trace the steps for the input 91632205. So this is also important question. So they have already given the input value. So these are the input value and they want you to sort them in ascending order. So apart from writing the program, you should also write the expected output by giving the values. Now using suitable code, discuss the working of the following string functions: string concatenation, string compare, string copy, string length, str. So all these things you can just briefly explain, or you can take one program example and then put all these functions and explain it. That will be also a better way. Now discuss the implementation of user-defined function with a suitable example. So for this you can take any program of your wish and explain the user-defined function. So before that you can, since they have asked to discuss the implementation, you can say what is a user-defined function, what are the different types that we have, and then come to a programming example and explain it. So we all know that we have like functions with no arguments and no return values, function with no arguments and with return values, function with arguments and no return values, and function with arguments and with return values. So these 4 categories that you can mention and give an example of any one. So as I told, recursion is very important. They will definitely ask one question on what is recursion and write a programming example. So finding the factorial using recursion is the easiest one. So you can learn this. Even if they're asking you to write a program to find the factorial, you can use the same example and answer this. So for the detailed explanation on this program, you can visit this video over here. Now write a C function that can be called to find the largest of an integer array of size n. So here they're asking to write a program in which we will be finding the largest element in the array. So you can write the program like this. You can take an array and then loop through it and scan it, and then you can find the largest of it using this function here. Find large, and passing your array here, and you are also passing the size of your array, so that here again you need to loop through the array and find the largest of the number. Then you will be returning the large number. So this is how you can find the largest element. Now discuss the various ways of passing parameters to functions. So we all know that we have 2 types, that is call by value and call by reference. So these are the 2 ways in which we can pass the parameters to the function. So you can discuss these 2 differences, and you can give a small example like this and explain each of these. Like you can explain what is call by value and how it is working, and you can also give the output, like how the output looks like if we are using call by value, and what will be the output in case of call by reference. So all these things you can discuss, and also write the brief differences between call by value and call by reference. Now again we have one more question in which they are asking to write a program to find factorial of a given number using recursion. So this is one of the important questions. And one more simple question, list any 5 built-in functions and explain any 2 of them. So we know that scanf, printf, string copy, string compare, string length, so these are all the inbuilt functions. So you can just list them. They're saying list any 5 and then explain any 2 of them. You can take any 2 of these functions and then explain them. Now write a C program to swap 2 integer values using pointers. So it's not just swapping 2 integers but using pointers. So it is same thing, but just that you are using pointer variables. So make sure that you are using pointer variables and then swapping them. So this is also very easy and you can easily get 5 marks. Now give the general syntax to initialize a structure to store a book information. Suppose say you have a book and you have to store the information related to the book. How can you define the structure? First you need to give the general syntax of the structure as they are asking. So you can mention few points on how we need to write the syntax, how we need to initialize the structure. So those points you can write, and also before writing this you can give a general syntax here. Write a structure to store a book information. So you can say you can give a name like book bank or book library or anything, and then you need to use the struct keyword, and inside the structure you need to define all your members. So you will be like using the suitable data types for each of your members. Say you need to store book title, you can use char title and say 20, and then you have to get the book author. So there also you can use char, and suppose you want to say you want to store the information on pages, so you can say int pages, and you need to store the price of the book, so you can use float for that. So likewise you can just create the structure, and you can also put some of the objects of the structure like book 1, 2 and 3. Now how union is different from structure, give example. So for this you can briefly explain what is structure, what is union, then how to define structure and how to define union. Like separately you can mention all the information regarding structure and union, and then give example for each of them, how we write structure, how we write union. And then since they are asking for difference, you can write a difference table. So structure and union we have, and then based on these parameters you can write the differences between them. Now discuss the use of hash define and hash include in C programming. So we all know what is hash define and why we use hash include, so you can explain them. So you can also give an example like how in a program we can use this hash define. So you can take an example of this pi, which you are saying it as 3.14. So you can easily write a small example to explain this. Similarly to hash include, that means to include any files, you can use hash include. Just a brief example, brief explanation on them and a small example. Now give the syntax for declaring and initializing a union with a suitable example. So again here they're asking about union. So we already know that what is union, what is structural. So you can just take points out of your previous answer here. Like what is a union? How do we define a union? How do we initialize a union? And then take an example and write it here. So general syntax is this, and an example of union how to write is here. So you can easily get 5 marks in this. Now when we need self-referential structure, discuss its implementation. So to answer this question, first say what is self-referential structures, and then give general syntax of how to write it, and then here make sure you highlight this. So this is where you're having that link, right? So when we are using the self-referential structure, so first you can write the general syntax and say what is it, and then you can take an example like this and explain it. So we have two types. One is self-referential structure with single link and multiple link. So both of them briefly you can just explain it like this. Thank you all.